So the reason, this topic is great for me because I have been on a personal development journey since the last few years. And that has helped me a lot in terms of becoming the person. And I'm still on that journey, which is which is eventually going to help me become an even better person over the years. But self-management, though it's a very overwhelmingly huge, broad topic, I'll be able to take you through my personal journey, through my personal anecdotes. And of course, let's keep it open for questions. I would love to understand your feedback about what has been my personal journey, and how do you identify with it, and we can take it up from there. I'll just share my screen. Just allow me a second. Just give me a second. So is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, Priyanka, it's visible.
Great, great. So self-management as today's topic is overwhelming. We have heard about management 101. Most of us are management graduates. We get to learn the difficult topics on marketing, sales, finance, accounting. But what about self-management? I feel that's the most important thing that we need to focus on in this day and age. When we are surrounded by so much chaos and stress, how do we work on ourselves in managing all these circumstances and events better, and still get keep on working on ourselves to handle these situations better. So just to start with the first slide, for my understanding, self-management starts with managing the daily chaos with a little bit of emotional intelligence. And also being productive and optimizing to become better, over the days. So we always we are at the fag end of this year, and we all most of us will be having these kind of New Year resolutions written down in our notebooks, or we might be thinking of incorporating some new habits. What about that? Aren't they in terms of getting these kind of steps in getting ourselves better, or over the next few days, instilling some new habits so that we can become a better version of ourselves? Where does the work begin exactly? So going on to the next slide, this is something that the Greek philosopher Thales, as he has said very aptly, it starts with self-introspection first. You need to understand where you are as a person today, and that always starts with a lot of looking into the internal mirror and understanding yourself. We all come from certain families, certain socio-economic backgrounds. Certain circumstances have etched a indelible mark in our minds over the years, as we have certain losses at certain young age. We have been put through certain situations. So a lot of as adults is being mapped, or being kind of a product of what has happened over the years with us. So the most difficult thing in life is to know yourself. Though we are a product of all these circumstances and all these situations put together, you need to pull yourself out and look at yourself as an individual. Where does your self journey, or you as a person with your values and principles, lie? So the work begins at the fundamental level, at the base level, and it is ugly. It is not always pretty. You need to basically, I literally do that. I just jot down on a piece of paper what are the things that what is Priyanka all about? What are the positives and as well as the negatives? Even the positives, they are not if I do not keep on working on them, they will not stay positive, or the kind of good habits for me are always consistency based. So I need to work on them constantly. Otherwise, the good habits will turn into bad habits. I'll give you a brief example of what I'm talking about. But the bad habits that I'm trying to work on trying to get them trying to nullify them out of my system. How do I work on them? So that's a difficult journey where we need to identify and work on ourselves. What is the work that goes into it? It starts, as I said, it starts with self-awareness. Everything starts with getting into your internal self, and starting to allocate what kind of energy is getting triggered by any external event. Any reaction to any external event. So for example, it's something as simple as, you having a bad day at office, you had a fight with a colleague, or you are having you are having a dispute with your loved one. It's something that, that entirely triggers an entire sequence of events in your day, right? So let's say I'm having a bad day, yesterday was a Friday evening, let's go out for drinks, let's let's just let my hair down and let's do that entire thing. Instead of that, what I I have started doing is, if I'm having a bad day, I will rather go for I'll put up my running shoes, I'll just go for a quick run, or I'll just go for a long walk, and I'll listen to a podcast, which will be completely different from what I had been going through the entire day, and it will completely put my mind off the entire events of the day. So diverting yourself from the negative to the positive is something in your hands. Understanding your triggers and reactions to events is completely entirely up to you. All we as I've started with this, that we all have grown up with certain visions, with certain value system, coming from certain families. This is something that you also need to update those value systems for yourself. It cannot be that the kind of value system that you have grown up with is the most optimized version to get you to the highest version of yourself. You need to understand that what works best for you and work through life. Your goals and ambitions might be totally different from my goals and ambitions. But for me, my certain 4 pillars of my existence is consistency, resilience, hard work, and integrity. So these things are something which are these are the 4 pillars of my value system. I have to constantly work on them. When I said these are my positives, this is something, if I am not consistent, then that consistency will go into the negative bracket, and I will have to again get it back after double the effort into the positive bracket. So this is kind of a value system that you need to understand for yourself, and then work on it accordingly. I'll just go through the chat section quickly if in case there are any questions. Okay. Yep. No. So going to the next point, prioritizing. Prioritizing is something which is so important in today's day and age. We have, see, first and foremost, all of us have 24 hours. Nobody of us is born with more than 24 hours. Yet we somehow we come across those people who get so much done within those that span of one day. Sometimes we take the same activity to almost a week or few days at least to get the same activity done. And the thing is, I was very intrigued by these kind of people, that how do they manage to have these kind of high productivity levels? How do they optimize their schedules? It's very simple at the end of the day, and I have done it, and that's how I would like to share this with you. This is basically compartmentalizing. It's very simple. I'm a very emotional person. I'm not a very pragmatic person. I used to be a very laid back. I was a kind of a disaster zone a few years ago in terms of being laid back, bright in academics, but laid back. I was my smarts will get me into the next career growth. I will be identified by the next person for my next opportunity. It doesn't work that way. However smart you are, there will be a smarter person than you in the room. So you need to be, in terms of, you need to set up a system which helps you in terms of getting you better. Of course, you might be smart, but you need to work on that smartness. You need to work on yourself constantly. So when I said compartmentalize, what does that compartmentalizing mean for me? Creating time packets mean for me. I'll just give you a basic example. The secret of my daily productivity, high productivity, is my morning routine. It's as simple as that. My first 3 hours in the morning are my touchstone, my foundation for the day. I need to win my mornings. I literally have written in my diary, I need to win my mornings to get the day, to win the day basically. How do I win my mornings? I've set up an alarm for 5 a.m. every day. I get up no matter what I'm feeling. Even if I am slightly under the weather, I'll get up. I'll have whatever my starting routine for 15 to 30 minutes, I'll do that. I'll put on my running shoes post that. I'll just go out, I'll do my warm-ups and I'll start running. I need to do that at least for 30 to 45 minutes to get that endorphin rush, to get that adrenaline rush into my system, to set the tone of the day. Post I come back, you won't believe the most confident I have felt is after post my run on any given day. After that, I feel like you set me up in front of a tiger or a lion, I'll be able to manage that situation. So that is the kind of positive dopamine rush that I always chase. Post that, I have a very boring breakfast that I eat almost 6 days a week, almost only on the weekends when I have time, then I'll make something which is of variety. But for the 5 days, I follow the same breakfast routine also. So this is the autopilot thing that I'm talking about in terms of you create that kind of a time packet, which everything is on an autopilot. It's a difficult thing. Getting up at 5 in the morning is something which was the most difficult thing for me because I was always like a night owl. I used to love staying up late in the night, but it was not getting me anywhere. It was adding to my health woes. It was getting me unnecessarily I was not getting up early or whatnot. I was lazy the other day, though I was slept for 7 hours. So to cut the story short, basically my morning routine has been a game changer for me. It has been and now it's a non-negotiable for me. I cannot do without my morning routine of those 3 hours compartmentalized. These are only for me and I'll work on myself. Post that, I'll have my breakfast and I'll try to read some newspaper or any blog or podcast. Even while running, I try to optimize that time by listening to a podcast about health or something which is related to some knowledge session that I want to go through, which I might not have a time throughout the day. So I listen to a podcast while running. This is what I'm talking about, compartmentalizing and creating time packets. Very important. This as may seem very elemental and very basic. This has been, I'm actually trying to stress on this again, but this has been a game changer for me. Starts with self-discipline. The third pointer is a very basic thing. Self-discipline is, we all know, we look up to those people, right, who are so disciplined, who are we always look up to them, they're kind of superhumans or something. But to be honest, this is something, it's very simple once you set up your mind to it in terms of I have a certain value system for this, for myself, and I need to follow up on that. In order to follow up on that, I need to create a sequence of events in terms of habits. And those sequence of habits then define my routine. And on that routine, that kind of my daily activity compounds. So whatever I'm doing on a routine basis, maybe let's say you might be, I'm not saying someone might be. So let's say some of us have a habit of grabbing a smoke, going for a smoke break after our lunch. This is something that it might seem like it's only a 1 cigarette, right, after my lunch, how does it gonna affect me? But over the years it's going to compound and it will add to your it is going to add up and it's not going to be pretty. The same habit that if I have that after lunch, I feel like grabbing in terms of having a sweet or something like that. What I do, I personally do is I just go for a 10-minute walk around the block. I'll just go up to my colleague, talk to them. I'll feel good about myself. I'll just talk to a friend or something. That is my kind of a break from any negative pattern that might be in my past. So you need to switch up your activities. Self-discipline is more important than motivation, by the way. Motivation is very flaky. It comes and goes. You can look at ample amount of videos. You can look at the life stories of greats and get motivated for the time being. But being disciplined is very difficult. And discipline comes from following routines. Routines are very basic. If you set your mind to following breaking down a routine into small tasks, it becomes I'm literally not saying this enough, but it becomes like a mindless activity. You do not even have to think about it. You just need to get up, do that activity, and then it becomes in a kind of entirety. It becomes an action of self-discipline. So discipline compounds into life-changing habits. I cannot stress enough on this. This quote on the right-hand side, every next level of your life will demand a different version of you. This is one of my favorite quotes. This is something that I discovered it almost 5 years ago, and I was at that kind of a stage where I was making certain changes in my life, and I was not happy with the version of myself back then. I was very honest about it that I'm not happy with myself. I'm not I'm not happy with me in terms of career, in terms of my personal health, and what should I do? So I just had like this very eye-opening talk with one of my the person that I go up to and talk to, and they said this in a very different way, in a different version of this. But this actually made a lot of sense. Priyanka, you want to be what do you want to be? We get to listen to all these questions in interviews, right? Like, what do you want to be 10 years down the line? You should ask that question to yourself, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 2 years down the line, 1 year down the line, break it down. What do you want to see yourself as? I broke that down, and I could actually see that if I continue on the same path, I'm not going to be anywhere. I'm not I probably by chance I'll land up in a good place or a job, or I'll find a good person or whatever it is, but it will never happen deliberately. It will be not a deliberate action. It will be I'm leaving everything up to destiny, which is not my style. So that is the reason you need to level up to every life situation or every stage of life that you are at. Any questions? I've been I'm sorry, I've been babbling a lot, but please let's get it interactive now.
Guys, I encourage you to ask questions. Use the chat box, or maybe if you want to get unmuted, you can raise your hand and I'll give you a chance to speak.
Yes, Trupti has written in the chat box Atomic Habits. Yes, Atomic Habits is like a very, very great book. It's I would recommend read. So systems, Atomic Habits speaks about systems, which is very important. Any difficult routine or habit that you're trying to build into, I guess Charles Duhigg has mentioned very beautifully that you need to replace. So for example, even if you're in a cycle of a negative loop of habits, let's say you you're stressed and you go for a smoke break or you go for a drink or something like that, you need to replace the cue of that habit or context of that habit with something else and replace it with a positive habit. I've read it a long time ago, but please Trupti, correct me if I'm wrong. This is somewhere you need to replace it with positive habits and just get a lot of positive context involved into that entire systems that you're building to build up a routine basically.
You're absolutely right, ma'am. As you was describing it, and I have read the book, so I understood that you are just talking about the tiny, irreplaceable, small atomic habits, which will become in your daily routine, and then how you can optimize the time. So
yes,
you are absolutely right, ma'am.
Thanks, Trupti. Any other questions? So should we move to the next slide?
Yeah, we can go ahead, ma'am.
Great.
Priyanka, I have a question from Jasim. Jasim's asking, what are the ways to identify yourself and especially your passion? Jasim, would you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hello, Jasim. Good afternoon.
So my question is, what are the way in which we can identify ourselves? Many times we go with the flow, but we don't know exactly what are the passion, even though we are doing good in our professional life and personal life.
Right.
But somewhere we are not satisfied what we are doing.
Okay. So Jasim, it requires a lot of honest self-introspection. See, something we have a lot of social conditioning around us. We have friends who keep on, for good or for bad, they keep on telling us that, oh no, you are a great person, or your parents will keep on mollycoddle you for are mera bacha to acha hi hoga. But you need to break from that narrative, and that only happens when you go and face some real life situations. You have to put yourself in hard situations. You need to put yourself in real life situations wherein you get those kind of immediate feedbacks. Also, one more thing that you can do is, in case if you do not find this to be viable or workable, what you can do is try to create a community of 1 or 2 senior level people or trusted people around you who will give you a very candid opinion about you're like, they have observed you, like they might be like one of your closest friends also. They might be someone senior, a manager in your previous organization or your present organization, maybe, that you have a good rapport with. Sit with them one-on-one and ask them for a feedback, like ask them for a critical feedback, ask them for like, what do you think, what should I be working on? What should I be like, what do you think like will improve my productivity? See, the thing is, the question is not about improving productivity. Productivity is the last thing that you need to get onto. The first thing that you need to work on is like figuring out what kind of person that you are and where do your emotional cues lies. Like, we are all emotional beings. We all have feelings. So what happens is that, as per the ongoing circumstances, we have some thoughts. The thoughts result into feelings, and those feelings result into eventually the actions. You need to understand those circumstances are facts. They are factual events. They are not going to change. But your thoughts and feelings will eventually, which are basically very, they are not like, permanent. Thoughts and feelings are not permanent, right? Today, you might be feeling happy. You might be feeling like, you might be feeling ecstatic about certain things. But tomorrow you might be sad or feeling low about certain things. Those things, the feelings which are like, very temporary, will lead into actions which may or may not be positive in the long run. So you need to understand, you need to take a feedback from a trusted source in terms of understanding where do you lie at, or you need to do the self-introspection on yourself in terms of understanding where you stand at, and like how can you improve your internal metrics, and where do you need to improve basically. I hope I was able to answer your question to your satisfaction.
Yes, ma'am. I got answer. Thank you.
So we'll go on to the next slide. Let me just. So the next part is like, we all know that, we are stressed, like we are like, we all of us are stressed at like at least like once in a week, we have that kind of a stress like blaster inside our head, like, get my office with my colleagues and they were like, let's go out. We had a pretty tough week. It's a month ending. It's a quarter ending. Most of are from sales, right? Sales has like, those kind of never ending targets that we need to chase. Plus our families are there to manage. We have like, some other priorities in our personal lives. So stress becomes like a, like, like inevitable part of our daily lives. So how do we need to manage the stress in order to, it doesn't hamper our inner, like, inner well-being as well as mental well-being, because that is very important. Stress is something that can be managed effectively if you do the right things, like, at the right given point of time. So for example, a few years back, if I was stressed by the end of the week, I would go out with my friends and I'll like, probably order in like a heavy meal from my favorite restaurant. Be lazy after that, watch something on like put on some movie, watch that and like go off to sleep, or like, even worse, like go out for a drink, have some kind of a party with my friends and everything, and like, next day like wake up hungover. We have these kind of... Sorry. Okay, so I guess someone is like just talking to someone. So these are some of the easier options that we have in our daily lives, which we can in terms of instant gratification. Do you think like, though we all of us have fallen prey to it at some given point of time, do you think these are the right choices to make in the long run? Or like, are these like really helping in alleviating or reducing your stress? It will not. The thing is, see, if you are looking for socializing, hanging out with your friends, there are much better ways to do that. You can go out with your friend, have like, like have a nice time with them in terms of like, have a meal with them, talk to them heart to heart. That is something that you can always do. But for me, like drinking, smoking and all these things, like hanging out late in the night, doing certain things, which are totally counterintuitive for my morning routine, is something totally waste of time. I've become completely obsessed with my morning routines, as I earlier said. So everything revolves around that. Ruchi, you have your hand raised. Any questions?
Yes, I do have one question. First of all, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ruchi.
Yeah, actually, I want to know, like, as you were telling about developing yourself, even I try to do it, but the point is, I stick to the routine mainly for a week, and then the main problem for me is sleep. Even if I sleep for 12 hours, I again get like sleepy. I don't know why it happens like that. What should we do, like, in order to get it sorted so that we can focus on other parts also, because sometimes important and urgent things like are different. For me, something is else is important. For example, I have to go to gym 9 o'clock, so that is important for me. But then there is some college work and I have to urgently go there, so it replaces that, and that consumes a lot of energy, and that end of the day nothing happens. Like then I feel sleepy, and then I sleep, and then day ends.
So Ruchi, you are studying in college or you are working?
I'm working as of now, but that was
Okay.
just an example.
So you are, this is your first job?
No, like I've been working since 5 years now, so
Okay.
the company, it's like 2.5 years.
Okay. Okay. So do you work from home?
Yes.
Okay. So Ruchi, see, sometimes it's like, you need to get, like, understand the mind space where you are at. See, sometimes like all of us are very tired and we really are like very stressed. So 7 to 8 hours does not suffice for some of us in terms of sleep. So we go for the extra 10 hours, 12 hours. But then if you have certain, like, physiological conditions adding up to that, I would suggest, like, you should also consult certain, like, your general physician in your area, or like your doctor, like, who will able to help you out better. But in case if it is kind of a physiological or kind of a psychological problem, in terms of you are very stressed, you are feeling tired by doing even smallest of tasks, then you need to do some kind of like, you need to work on yourself in terms of understanding where the problem lies and seek out help respectively. The help can be in any format, as I said, like, you can go and consult your general physician, seek counseling, like, or go for therapy. So something like this is completely up to you. I understood, like, what was the solution for me. That solution may not be a cookie cutter solution for you. So you need to understand, like, first you need to understand where the problem lies. Is your stress levels too much? Are you not eating healthy meals? See, why am I so obsessed with my morning routines and with my healthy lifestyle is because I know that my exercise and my diet that I follow, whatever food that I eat, it generally like, translates into my energy levels for the day. If I'm eating junk, my energy levels will not be very high. I've seen that. In fact, I've seen that like few years ago when I used to eat junk a lot. I used to be lazy. I used to be like, just be a couch potato. But in terms of, like, once you start building up healthy habits, you feel like gradually start seeing the changes as well. So you need to understand, you need to evaluate where are the, look at your habits on a under a microscope, like, what habits are you following? What are you eating? What kind of conversation or what kind of thoughts you're having on a daily basis? Then break it down and then try to figure out the issue and seek help basis that. I would advise you that. But in case if it's like a physiological issue, please go and seek like some medical help for it. But in case it's like a psychological kind of a stress related issue, then of course you can work it out on yourself by exercising, meditating, journaling. That can also help a lot.
Okay, I'll definitely work on that. Thank you so much.
No issues. So stress, as we all know, is like the kind of a major culprit in our, like, it brings down our energies. And as we know, like, how do we manage that? As I was already coming to that, I've actually answered a part of this through the answer that I gave to Ruchi. For me, this is chasing the right dopamine. Dopamines are like, the kind of hormones that are released in our body when we do something which is enjoyable, right? Dopamine is also released when we do certain not so positive activities like smoking or or drinking or doing certain things or doing drugs. But also dopamine is also released when you're on the social media, the kinds of instant likes or follows that we get. That's also kind of a dopamine that gets released into our body once we get to see somebody acknowledging our presence or liking what we are doing on a real-time basis. Dopamine is kind of something like, the easier option, or the bad version of dopamine is that the instant gratification that we are seeking from the systems that we have built in. That might be anything in terms of I'm feeling hungry, instead of grabbing an apple, I go for a chocolate. That is not the right dopamine. So instead of that, I can always go for something like, if I'm feeling hungry, instead of going for something unhealthy, I can always grab something which is healthy, home cooked. So for me, the right dopamine is exercising, meditating, helping someone, getting allied with a cause. So I have trust me, this actually works in the real time. If you get involved in a cause in your locality or with a stranger, you try to help a stranger, that's like the best rush that you can get, that I helped someone, my existence was able to help someone, which I did, which I never knew about. Get involved in causes. You will be able to you'll be able to help build a community, also be part of a community. And always that's like the best thing that you can do for yourself. Journaling your thoughts, you should always download your thoughts in a diary, whatever you are thinking by the end of the day. That's what I prefer doing, wherein I've had a certain day, and I would try to journal it out on a diary that I had this day, I did my workout, but I was not able to follow up with this habit of mine, and that eventually led me to eating unhealthy or buying something from outside or something like that. If I go back a couple of years back and read my older entries in the journal, I actually get to see I've made so much major developments over the last couple of years or last 3 years. It's actually so self-affirming. It I feel that I have become a totally different person. So that again helps me in terms of elevating my boosting my self-confidence and making me feel better about myself. So this is something that these are the kind of dopamine rushes that I chase, that you can it may be different for you, but needless to say, exercising is the best for everyone. All these habits can be followed up by anyone and everyone. So that is something that you can do to manage your stress. Any questions over here? We have some people in the chat box. You can't see the slide. Is everyone able to view my slides?
Yeah, Priyanka. I think the slides are visible. There is some problem with her headset. Okay. So we can move on, I think.
Yes. A very famous management terminology. We always say it's time to pivot. What do you mean by pivot? Is something that it's just in fancy terms, it is nothing but adjusting or readjusting your performance as per the kind of situation or the circumstances arise. So everything is life is changing all the time. Sometimes these are not the best possible changes that we look forward to. These are sometimes negative changes, better changes in our life. How do you pivot, or how do you make yourself adaptable to those changes is something, a test of your character. Sometimes what happens is that we become very defensive about changes in our life, that I am this as a person, I will not change beyond this. Let the people around me adapt or adjust to my surroundings. As self-entitled as much as it sounds, it's completely counterintuitive to your personal growth. You need to be adaptable to situations at whatever stage you're in life. Unless and until you are the emperor of Britain, or you are heading, you're a CEO of an organization, even the CEOs of the organization need to pivot from time to time as per any geopolitical situation, any socio-economic condition. They need to adapt to the they need to ground themselves and adapt to the latest ongoings. So what I'm trying to say is that, life is going to change. It is going to be, we all saw that how much has changed in the last 3 years. Once the pandemic happened, we all had to we did not, none of us had the choice, in spite of even if you are a rickshaw driver or you were a CEO of an organization, you had to shut shop and sit at your house and sit through the lockdown. We do not have any option of going out and having your own lifestyle about having a 9 to 5 office and then going to a party or something. None of us could do that. So something in life is that life is the biggest, it keeps on teaching you the biggest lesson, that you might feel that you are bigger than something, but you need to be very humble about certain things, that however big or kind of confident that I am, I can handle this situation, certain things are beyond your control, so you need to be adaptable to those situations. So this is this comic strip that you're seeing on your screen right now is from my favorite comics, Calvin and Hobbes. It says that if you could wish anything, what would it be? A big sunny field. So Calvin over here is the small kid, and he has this imaginary friend of this tiger friend called Hobbes. So he always this comics is all about he's having these imaginary conversation with his best stuffed tiger friend called Hobbes, and Hobbes says the answer the big sunny field to be in, a stupid field, and Calvin is this always kind of a angry, very naughty kid, and he says a stupid field, you have got you can have anything, why you're looking for a stupid field. But sometimes being content in life with what you have is also very important. You cannot always be in a chase mode, that I will always be kind of in a hustle mode. Sometimes you need to stop, relax, enjoy what life has to offer, and then move on to the next step of life. Also, one more thing that I have realized over the years is that I was very ambitious, and I used to love the hustle. I'm from Bombay. So Mumbai, of course, we call it Bombay. People from Bombay call it Bombay only, not Mumbai. So Bombay is it's a city of hustle. It's something you're constantly running behind things. You love that culture wherein you go for an 8:30 a.m. meeting, and post that you have an 11 a.m. meeting, and you're running around the city. You're doing 100 things in a one day. Bombay is not laid back that way. It's a very hustle kind of a city culture. So over the years, after spending years over there, I decided I thought about what is am I actually I seriously wanted to do this. I took a step back. That's your introspection starts kicking in again, and you understand okay, is this lifestyle for me? Is this a thing that I want to do in the long run? I identified that I am still a very ambitious person. I want to have good things in life for myself. But you need to relax, you need to let go from time to time, and you need to just ground yourself at one given point of time, so that you become better after taking that break. And trust me, you need to take those breaks from time to time, because post those breaks you come out even better. You have much higher levels of energy to tackle life situations. So yeah, you need to let go from time to time. So it's not a part of this slide, but I'm just adding in. Any questions from this slide? Okay, so let's proceed. Too much gap. I've just incorporated a little bit of cartoon strips over here. So rely on numbers. How many of us are data focused people over here? Like, like who like numbers, who love numbers. Sales is anyways about numbers. You have to, like, be good in numbers, and like, unless you want to make your numbers. So I was not a numbers person. I used to hate like looking at spreadsheets and like, going through them, making like, data around it and everything. But over the last, like, few years, what I've realized it that, we are essentially biased people. We have a lot of biases. We have ingrained biases in terms of cognitive bias, which cognitive bias, like, some kind of preset bias, like social conditioning bias, all these kind of social, like, or these kind of biases or kind of prejudices that we carry among ourselves, like, stop us from making the correct decisions. So for example, it's something like, you have, like, you've had a fight with your manager and you are like, like, I do not want to work over here right now. I just want to quit and like move on to my next job. I do not want to work in this organization. But look at the numbers, like, you always should look at the finer details of things that will help you in terms of making a better choice. You are being emotional, getting biased about a present, current, temporary situation and making a decision basis that is not going to help in the long run. Instead, relying on market metrics in terms of, is this a market for me to switch? Are there any relevant opportunities? Is there something like, better for me currently out there in the market, which I can like, better adjust to? How am I sure that the next boss or the manager will be like, the best boss ever? All these are like, kind of the metrics, or in terms of objective metrics that you need to rely on instead of just relying on your personal feelings and thoughts. So sometimes these are some, like, these are, though they might not be the best possible, like, at that given point of situation, these numbers may not be the best possible, but you need to rely on them from time to time, especially while giving or making some critical decisions. Sorry for my cold. I'm like, if my voice is a little bit heavy, and it's like because of my bad cold. Goal alignment. This is something like, this is like, in like, you will, once you spend a few years in the organization, I'm always of the, like, of the opinion that you should at least like give 2 to 3 years minimum to any organization that you're spending time over. That also also translates into your personal life. You cannot make hasty decisions about any situation in your life within a day or a month or even a year. You need to give it certain time, and for doing that also you need to have an open communication. You need to realign what exactly is the situation, realign as per that, take timely feedbacks. When I said that I have certain people in my life whom I trust with their genuine feedback, this is somewhere I go up to them. I'll ask them that, what I'm thinking about doing this. Do you think this is the right opportunity for me? Do you think this will help me in the long run? Trust me, they have been they have been eye-opening discussions that I've had post these, and I've actually stopped from making certain changes in my life or decisions. I've stopped taking some decisions in my life because that advice actually made sense. Always also keep a mind open to unsolicited advice. What do I mean by unsolicited advice? We have a lot of people in our society who come and keep on telling us like, beta tum na aise nahi kar rahe ho, ye galat cheez kar rahe ho, isse better kar sakte ho, ya ye tum kya career choose kar rahe ho, there might be something better for you. So these are the unsolicited advice which you have not asked for. These are just people adding their 2 cents to everything that you're doing. These are not the people to rely on in terms of your advice and in terms of your in terms of getting any possible life advice from. You need to take feedbacks from only people whom you trust and whom you understand have spent a considerable amount of time doing what they have done, and they have proved their worth in that field. Those feedbacks you need to jot down and then work on them and realign your goals accordingly. So for example, I'll just give you my personal example is as a kid, I was very attracted to this profession of journalism. I wanted to be a journalist. There is a CNN journalist or a reporter called Christiane Amanpour, and she was like my my ideal, like literally my ideal. I used to my dad was an IPS officer, so you used to always we used to always have CNN in the background running along with other channels. And there used to be some articles in the magazines also around Christiane Amanpour, and I read about her and I got fascinated by this lady. Over the years, during my school days in my breaks, I used to do this kind of a stint where I started writing articles for my local newspaper. And I also went up to write for the local supplement of Times of India. That was something. Then I realized that, okay, I like writing, but this is not like a financially viable career for me. Journalism is not that financially viable. It does not pay you that well, at least in the early years of that career. So that is when I decided, though I love I like the writing part of it, I can put this to a better use somewhere else. Also, you should try out different things. You should try out different things at the start of your career or even during your career. Sometimes what happens is that we grow up with a certain kind of a thought process in our mind that we are engineers, we are either engineers or doctors. In India, that's like a kind of an epidemic, if I call it so. But in reality, we want to be something else. So you need to figure out, you should try out different things during the course of your career. Do some lateral thinking, do some kind of a divergent thinking in terms of meet different people from different backgrounds, different divergent backgrounds, and talk to them what their lives are all about. You'll get a lot of positive reinforcement in terms of how plain vanilla or how even stable your life is. So for example, if you have, sometimes you start feeling very oh my, I do not like my job, I have to work 10 hours in a day, my manager is boring, he keeps on micromanaging me. These are all kinds of the normal conundrums that all the problems that we face on daily basis. I have a friend who's an artist. He is an excellent artist, by the way. He paints, I love his art, but talking to him, everything set aside, his life is so unstable in terms of finances, in terms of managing, he has to start from managing everything on his own, plus getting a clients for himself. Then you start I started realizing how stable my life is. I get a paycheck by the end of this month, glorifying this culture, the clickbait culture that we are currently going through, where is you should give up your jobs and go and holiday in some fancy location. We have these influencers who are holidaying 12 months in a year. It might be your kind of a life value or your goal or something, your bucket list, but it is not sustainable for me. At least it is not sustainable. I can take one holiday, but I'm a workaholic by nature. I need to come back and do some kind of a credible work in my career that I've chosen. I need to contribute there and I get gratification from that. So you need to appreciate the things that you have in terms of what you already have and not keep on comparing yourself. That realignment comes from, again, a lot of self-introspection, and you need to laterally think, meet people from different fields, and then you will be able to see what kind of reality is out there for everyone. It is not like a level playing field for everyone, and sometimes you get to know that you are at a much better place than what anyone else is at. Let me just... So self-development. So this gentleman who's sitting in that couch, here what we repeatedly do, and he's very carelessly saying whatever, you can just see how careless he is about, he's just sitting with a glass of probably a can of beer or and chips around him, and he's out of shape. This is something what I've realized, that though this culture has been propagated as the cool fun culture, I'm really surprised when people make fun of people, friends of to be one of them. I know people used to get up early in the morning and go for a run. I used to be like literally like ये पागल है क्या सुबह मतलब सोना होता है and like, how can you get up so early and like go for a run? How can you eat healthy all the time? How can you not love this? How can you? I used to be like I'm like very judgmental about these kind of people. But over the years, it is something that this lifestyle that is this gentleman leading in this picture is not sustainable over a period of course of time. You need to understand that there are certain health metrics which translate into your mental well-being as well. Eating junk foods, or like leading a kind of a lifestyle which is not working on yourself, it's like it's going to compound into something which will be radically negative for you over the years. So self-development is something that is constantly working on yourself with a beginner's mindset. Beginner's mindset is what? Like, I always go into a room where I feel that I do not want to be the smartest person in that room. I feel that if I'm the smartest person in that room, then it's my, I've actually practiced this, that, then it's your time to leave that premises and join some other room. I need to be around people who are constantly talking about, constantly, but they have those conversations around health, mental well-being, what kind of routines that they are building up. Like, for example, there was like this gentleman who was like a senior VP at the organization. In spite of that, he was planning to go summit Mount Everest. There's another colleague of mine who was telling me about his boss, who is a doctor. So my friend is a doctor, colleague is a doctor, and his head of department in that hospital was going for this kind of a major trek in December or somewhere down, during, he's already done that this year. And I was very surprised that, this person in spite of having a 12 or 13-hour schedule a day, is finding time to do all those things, which are so difficult. For me, it's so difficult to even comprehend that this person is preparing to summit Mount Everest. So these are the kind of things that you only look and you learn from high kind of achievers, people, people who are constantly working on themselves, and they're constantly finding ways and means to add to their routines in terms of getting better. So beginner's mindset is very important in terms of understanding that you're not the smartest person in the room. You always have a room to learn from people around you. So self-work, if I have to conclude on this slide, is self-work never stops. It's a myth. If you think that you are a perfect version of yourself, then you are dead. You need to constantly keep working on yourself. That's like the biggest learning that you can take from this, this presentation today. So any questions from this?
Guys, please, you can ask your questions. You can use the chat box, or maybe if you want to unmute yourself, you can do that and ask questions from Priyanka.
Priyanka ma'am, can I ask?
Sure, please go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, ma'am, for the presentation. It was a very insightful one. If you had any tips on practically implementing these topics that we discussed, maybe something that has worked for you and that we could try and replicate?
Sure. So Mark, what you can start with is building up small habits around your daily routine. So you need to understand what is your daily routine, even if you have one. You need to then build on that. So for example, it is something that you want to, let's have a health, a health routine around it. You need to see, it's not compulsory that you have a morning routine only. Like a lot of my marathoner friends, I have friends who run marathons regularly. They may not essentially be running in the morning all the time. Excuse me, just a second. I'm sorry, I'm having a very bad cold. So what I'm trying to say is that you need to define a routine which is suitable to your timelines. Maybe getting up in the morning or is not like, the most optimum thing for you. What you can do is you can build a routine where, you are able to just like I'm giving you an example. For example, you're trying to build a health routine for yourself. You at least need to fix up that 1 hour in the day where you will be dedicating it to only your health and for your wellness. And that 1 hour will be dedicatedly yours. You will not let any interruptions come in between. Like what happens eventually is that all of these, like once you start with that one habit where you start working out for, let's say, not even for an hour, let's say 30 minutes or 15 minutes for that matter to begin with, everything compounds after that. You start feeling better about yourself. You start making better eating choices also. Trust me, and this is something that I have like experienced firsthand through my own experience, and also friends who work out like on a regular basis. They say that, even if we love eating a burger or a pizza or whatever it is, your choice of junk food, once we start working out, we anyways do not want to eat that. So this is just one way of looking at developing better health habits. In terms of a broad-based, do you have any like a broad-based goal that you are trying to work on?
Multitude of goals, ma'am. So health is one. My lethargic habits are another one. Trying to improve myself at work is another one. So it has been a constant endeavor from the beginning to try and improve, but it is like you come to, I always look out for motivation, and there are days when I have it, and then there are a multitude of days when I don't. And that is my weak point right now, which is what I'm trying to work on.
So, Mark, don't worry about it. We all have been through that phase where, you're trying to work on multiple things. So currently, see, what you're saying is that what I feel is overwhelming for you is that there are a lot of things that you're trying to work on simultaneously. Start with one habit. Just start with one habit. Start with your, health. Let's just start working on that for 30 minutes a day. Trust me, you will start that effect trickling down in every aspect of your life. For example, like let's say, you start working out 30 minutes in the morning every day. You get up, let's say, like even not, 5 a.m. is too early. You get up at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. You do, but the thing is, you do this continuously for the next 21 days without fail. Okay. You work out for 15 minutes, you work out for 20 minutes, you work out for half an hour. You have the systems in place. When I say systems in place is that, you have your workout clothes right in front of you, have your shoes ready, and then you know that, you just need to wear them and get out of the house or wherever you need to go to work out. Have the systems in place which will make your execution much more easier. Once you're out in the gym, see, you're not going to go to the gym and just sit over there, right? You're going to work out over there. So stop procrastinating, just set up a regime where you do not have to think about it. So autopilot is something that you need to at least put up like one routine or habit of yours on autopilot, which you execute without thinking about it. Once that habit has been instilled in you for the 21 days, then you will start see that effect trickling down in the rest of your your daily routines. You will start seeing that you are getting better at work. Your clarity is getting better. You are starting performing better at work, and which is like my personal experience that I'm talking about. The mornings that I work out and I put myself through a relatively more difficult workout, it is excruciating. It's painful. I sometimes feel like, there are people who see me daily while I'm running on the roads, and they see you're so focused when you're these people I interact, of course, on from time to time. I don't even say a hi, hello to anyone because I'm very focused in what I'm doing right now. I do not like to interact. That's my style of working out. But it's something is I put myself through so much pain right at the start of the day, that the rest of the day becomes like a cakewalk for me. It becomes very simple for me. I feel even I have a very important review lined up with a very senior stakeholder in the organization. I feel that, I've already put myself through so much, challenge, a bigger challenge right at the start of the day. This is relatively, this is very easy and I can manage this. This is not that like a kind of a defensive or a self-confident approach. The confidence comes in naturally. It kicks in naturally. And let me tell you, I'm not trying to fake it. I'm that like, the kind of, how can I put it? It's something that the confidence, it comes in a very organic way. It is not something that, I'm trying to prep myself. Oh, I have to feel confident. I have to give this review now. I have to face my manager. I have to face. It comes in a very natural way, and I do not have to work also on it. So that is what my workout has done over the years for me. It very naturally, and that has helped me tremendously in getting the rest of the routine sorted also.
Makes sense, ma'am. Actually, the thing is, I also was into a workout routine when I was working abroad, but then came back to India, and then the hustle life over here kind of workout took a back seat of the car. So yes, I really want to get back to that, which is why I thought maybe a little some tips that have worked for you maybe might work for me. That's why I asked.
No, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn. I can always share. So it's very simple. See, it's as complicated as we make it, and it's as simple as we break it down into. See, any task will seem very overwhelming in the beginning because we are looking at it from entirety. We are looking at the macro picture. We need to break it down into small steps and tasks which are executionable and actionable, basically. So you need to break down, like, so it seems overwhelming. Yeah, you know what, I'm like part of a hustle culture now. But trust me, Mark, it has been like, I'm not even kidding you. I've seen people with 13 hours of schedule, 12 hours of schedule, who are working in a much intensive industry, like which is more physically intensive or mentally intensive, mentally taxing for that matter, but they still find time to do their non-negotiable, which might be a workout, being with their family, spending time with their family, and doing the rest of the routine also. So this is something that you decide for yourself, what is the hustle, and then you break it down into like, how can I execute this, like what I've decided for myself.
Makes absolute sense, ma'am. I'll try that.
Sure. All the best to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Any more questions? Palak, are we done, or like do we have some more time?
I think we can wrap it up. If there are no more questions, then we can wrap this up for now.
Sure. Well, if there are no questions, then we can totally take this up also.
Sure. Yeah, we've also exceeded the time now. Thank you so much, Priyanka, for your time. It was actually lovely hearing all your thoughts. And I'm personally taking away a lot of stuff. I'm sure a lot of people who asked their questions are also taking away a lot of stuff. A lot of people who've been silent, but they've been observing well, I'm assuming, would have absorbed a lot. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We'll meet again on Saturday from 12 to 1, and I'll keep you posted on the next session. Priyanka, it was lovely having you, and I look forward to connecting again.
Thank you so much, Palak. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Priyanka, ma'am.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, ma'am.